In 2024, 63% of American men under 30 are single, not dating, not in relationships, single. In 1990, that number was 32%, it's nearly doubled in one generation. This isn't about dating advice, this is about economics, this is about how the cost of living, student debt, social media, and changing gender dynamics created the largest relationship crisis in American history. Where did relationships go? In the next 15 minutes, we're going to examine the hidden economic and psychological forces that made traditional relationships nearly impossible for an entire generation. This is a systems analysis, no politics, just data. Let's establish the scope of what we're dealing with here. The relationship data from 2024 tells us that 63% of men under 30 are single, 34% of women under 30 are single, the marriage rate is at its lowest in 120 years, the birth rate is at the lowest ever recorded, 36% of Americans are living alone, which is up from 13% in 1960. And the average age of first marriage is now 30, it was 23 in 1990. But here's what makes this different from every other generation, it's not a choice for most people. According to Pew Research in 2023, 57% of single men want a relationship, 67% of single women want a relationship. So if most people want relationships, why aren't they happening? The answer isn't one thing, it's a perfect storm of economics, technology, psychology, and cultural evolution that made the traditional relationship model economically unsustainable for millions of Americans. In this documentary, we're going to examine the economics, why relationships became unaffordable, the technology, how apps changed mate selection, the psychology, status anxiety and hypergamy, the cultural shift, changing gender expectations, and the future, what happens next. This is an economic analysis, not a judgment. Let's start with money. To understand the relationship crisis, you first have to understand the economics. In 1960, a single-income household could afford a house. The median was $11,900 on $5,600 of income, a car, 2 to 3 children, healthcare, retirement savings. Today, a dual-income household struggles to afford rent. The median is $1,950 per month. Student loans averaging $38,000 per person, healthcare if it's not employer-provided, childcare which costs $15,000 to $30,000 per year, and any savings at all. Let's run the numbers for a typical American couple in their late 20s. Combined income at the median is $85,000 per year. After taxes, that's about $65,000. Fixed expenses break down like this: rent costs $23,400 per year, student loans $7,200, car payments and insurance $9,600, healthcare $6,000, food $9,000, utilities and phone $3,600. That's a total of $58,800, leaving just $6,200 per year, or $517 per month. Now add a child. Childcare in the US averages $1,200 per month, that's $14,400 per year. They're now $8,200 in the red annually. This is why 41% of divorces cite financial stress as the primary cause. But here's the deeper economic truth. For many young Americans, being single is now more financially viable than being in a relationship. A single person living with roommates pays $800 per month in rent, utilities split at $100 per month, no pressure to upgrade their lifestyle, no expectations of expensive dates or gifts, complete financial autonomy. A person in a relationship faces social pressure to live together, which means higher rent, expectation to split costs fairly but incomes may differ, dating and courtship expenses, holiday, birthday, and anniversary obligations, potential for financial entanglement. From a pure cost-benefit analysis, relationships have become economically irrational for people living paycheck to paycheck. Psychologist Abraham Maslow showed that humans seek romantic connection only after basic needs are met: food, shelter, security. When 64% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, they're stuck at the bottom of the pyramid. Relationships become a luxury they can't afford. But economics is only part of the story. Technology changed everything else. In 2009, Tinder launched and fundamentally changed how Americans meet romantic partners. How Americans met their spouse in the 1960s: 35% through family and friends, 15% at work, 10% at church, 25% at school, 15% other ways. In 2024, 39% through dating apps, 20% through friends, 11% at bars or restaurants, 11% at work, 19% other ways. Apps became the dominant marketplace, but here's the problem: they apply free market dynamics to human relationships. In economics, there's a principle called the paradox of choice. Psychologist Barry Schwartz documented this in the famous jam study. A table with 24 jam varieties: 60% of people stopped to look, 3% bought something. A table with 6 jam varieties: 40% stopped, 30% bought. More choice equals less satisfaction, fewer decisions. Now apply this to dating apps. The average male user sees 140 profiles per day. The average female user sees 200 plus profiles per day. Your brain isn't designed for this. You're evolutionarily wired to meet maybe 100 to 150 people your entire life. Now you're judging over 1,000 potential partners per week based on 5 photos and a bio. This creates what psychologists call shopping mentality. Every person becomes a product to compare against the next one. Slight imperfection: swipe left, there are 5,000 more. Great conversation but lives 20 minutes away, swipe left, someone closer might appear. The result is analysis paralysis and commitment erosion. An MIT study from 2023 found that dating app users take 37% longer to commit to exclusive relationships compared to people who met offline. Why? Because they never fully stop looking. The app is still there, the options are still there. In economics, this is called opportunity cost, the fear that committing to one person means missing out on someone better. But here's the mathematical reality. If you're seeking a partner who meets 10 specific criteria, and each criterion has a 50% match rate, the probability of finding that person is 0.0976%, or roughly 1 in 1,024 people. Your realistic dating pool, considering age range, location, mutual attraction, is about 2,000 people. Your statistical perfect match doesn't exist in that pool. Perfection seeking equals permanent singleness. But the apps profit from this behavior. The longer you search, the more you pay. Now let's talk about the psychology that makes modern relationships nearly impossible: status anxiety. For most of human history, you compared yourself to maybe 150 people, your village or community. Today, you compare yourself to everyone on Earth. Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, you see the billionaire entrepreneur, the influencer with a perfect body, the couple on a European vacation, the friend who just bought a house. Your brain doesn't know these are curated highlights, it just sees you're falling behind. Now apply this to dating. On dating apps, everyone presents their best self: professional photos, exotic vacation pictures, success signals like job titles and education, physical peak moments. Evolutionary psychology research shows humans use mate value assessment. We unconsciously calculate our own value versus potential partners. The unconscious calculation is this: my value in looks, income, status, personality, is it greater than or equal to their value? The problem is social media and dating apps inflate everyone's perceived value. Tinder data analysis from 2022 shows that the top 5% of men receive 50% of all female likes, the top 20% of men receive 80% of all female likes, the bottom 80% of men compete for 20% of female attention. For women, it's more equally distributed, but still skewed toward top profiles. This creates dating inequality that mirrors economic inequality. There's a term in psychology called hypergamy, the tendency to seek partners of equal or higher social status. Historically, status meant landowner, merchant, skilled tradesman. Today, status means college degree, six-figure income, Instagram followers, physical appearance. But 50% of Americans don't have college degrees, median income is $60,000, most people have debt. So the status expectations shown on apps don't match economic reality for most people. Most people are average, apps make average invisible. A Stanford study from 2023 found that 73% of dating app users report feeling not good enough after using the apps for 30+ minutes. The apps create a comparison economy where almost everyone feels like they're losing. Now we need to address the elephant in the room, gender role evolution. For thousands of years, the male role in relationships was relatively clear: financial provider, physical protector, head of household. From the 1960s through today, women's roles radically expanded: education, now 60% of college graduates, career achievement, financial independence, political power. This is objectively positive: more freedom, more choice, more equality. But here's the sociological problem: male gender roles didn't evolve at the same pace. Society didn't create a new coherent model for modern masculinity. What women want in partners according to Pew in 2023. 89% want emotional intelligence, 71% want shared housework, 64% want mutual career respect, 62% want similar education level, 81% want good father potential, 78% want financial stability. What men report feeling prepared for: 43% feel ready to be a financial provider, 31% for emotional communication, 54% for shared domestic labor, 38% for equal partnership. There's a massive gap between what modern relationships require and what men were socialized to provide. The education factor tells the story. In 1970, 58% of college students were men. In 2024, 40% of college students are men. Men without college degrees saw wages decline 20% since 1980 when adjusted for inflation. Women without degrees saw wages increase 15%. This creates what economists call market mismatch. 60% of college graduates are women. Women statistically prefer partners with equal or higher education. Math problem: not enough college-educated men. Result: record numbers of educated women can't find partners who meet their criteria. Record numbers of less educated men are rejected from the dating pool. Here's the crucial point: this isn't anyone's fault. System-level problems require system-level analysis. This is about economic forces, technological disruption, and cultural evolution happening simultaneously, faster than humans can adapt. But it gets more complex. So let's put all the pieces together and see why this generation is experiencing something unprecedented. The perfect storm unfolded like this. In 2008, the financial crisis destroys millennial wealth before they even start earning. Young Americans graduate into the worst job market since the Great Depression, starting salaries 20% lower than the previous generation. From 2010 to 2015, student debt explodes. Average debt doubles from $18,000 to $38,000. Cost of college increases 180% while starting wages increase only 19%. From 2012 to 2016, Instagram, Tinder, and Bumble reach critical mass. Human connection becomes algorithmically mediated. comparison culture goes global. From 2015 to 2020, housing prices increased 47%. Millennials and Gen Z are locked out of homeownership, the traditional marker of being ready for family. In 2020 and 2021, the pandemic destroys social infrastructure, bars, clubs, churches, community groups, all the places people historically met, shut down, dating apps become the only option. From 2022 to 2024, inflation hits 9%, real wages decline, cost of living crisis, basic survival becomes harder. Now imagine you're a 27-year-old American in 2024. You have $40,000 in student debt, $2,100 per month rent because that's median for a one-bedroom, $600 per month student loan payment, $45,000 salary after getting a master's degree, no savings, no house, no financial security. You open a dating app. You see profiles of people who look more successful than you. They're not, they're just better at presentation. You feel inadequate, they probably feel inadequate too. You have 1,000 options but can't commit to any because financially, you can barely support yourself. Psychologically, you feel like you're not enough. Technologically, you're trapped in choice paralysis. Culturally, you're unsure what your role even is. So you opt out, you focus on survival, career, paying debt, hobbies, friends, anything but the stress of dating. You become a statistic, 63% of single men. And the system continues. So what happens to a society where a majority of young people can't form relationships? We're already seeing it. The US birth rate is 1.64 children per woman, below the replacement rate of 2.1. At current trends, US population will peak by 2050 and decline without immigration. Economic consequences include a smaller workforce, collapsing social security, reduced consumer spending, housing market disruption. Social consequences include increased loneliness epidemics, mental health crisis, political polarization, single men vote very differently than married men, community breakdown. But humans adapt. We're already seeing new relationship models, non-traditional partnerships, policy responses, some cities offering dating subsidies, tech adaptations, apps designed for real connections, cultural shifts, rejecting comparison culture. Some early signals are encouraging. Gen Z is deleting Instagram at higher rates, slow dating movements are growing, financial literacy content is exploding in popularity, young people are seeking community over status. This isn't a crisis without solutions, but the solutions require economic reforms like housing affordability and debt relief, tech regulation for app design accountability, cultural evolution to create new relationship models, and individual awareness, understanding these forces. The relationship crisis isn't about personal failure, it's about systemic forces, economic, technological, and cultural, that converged in one generation. Understanding the system is the first step to navigating it. This is how the world actually works. Subscribe for more documentaries on the hidden forces shaping your life.